This video series, What to Expect as a New Entrant, a guide to running your trucking company during the first year, has been developed by Apex Capital to help you understand the policies and procedures that you must have in place in order to pass your safety audit and receive your permanent operating authority. Today, we are talking with Reghan Orman about taxes. Reghan is Associate General Counsel at Apex Capital, and she also leads the Apex Startup Program, a program designed to help those interested in starting a trucking company get their operating authority.
Well, if you're conducting business just as yourself, you haven't formed any sort of company with your Secretary of State or anything like that, but you're running your own business, you're going to be a sole proprietor. Now, that's common maybe for a lot of independent contractors who run under somebody else's authority, but they have their own company going. However, if you've gone to the Secretary of State or other similar agency in your state and formed a company, you've probably either formed a limited liability company or a corporation. A limited liability company has members, and it can be single member or multi-member, and then we're all familiar with a corporation, but those are really just the two main types of formed entities. The type of entity that you have chosen, whether it's sole proprietor, LLC, or corporation, is going to determine the kind of tax you're going to be filing. So the type of entity you choose to run as, whether it's a sole proprietor, an LLC, or a corporation, is going to determine the tax filing you have to make. If you're operating as a sole proprietor, then you're just going to be filing your personal individual 1040 every year. But on Schedule C of it, there's going to be room for you to put information about the income and expenses relating to your business. Now, LLCs are treated a little bit differently depending on if you chose a single member LLC or a multi-member LLC. Now, if you're a single member LLC, which is just one member in your company, maybe just you, but you formed the LLC itself is going to be disregarded for tax purposes, and you're going to be treated the same as a sole proprietor, so filling out the information on Schedule C of your individual 1040. For multi-member LLCs, you can elect to be treated either as a partnership or a corporation. Generally, you'll elect to be treated as a partnership, and a partnership files a Form 1065 every year with the IRS. Now, that's an informational return, and it also contains something called a Schedule K-1. Every member of the LLC should then be receiving a copy of their Schedule K-1 so that they can use that information to report their portion of the business on Schedule E of their individual 1040s. Finally, a corporation is going to be filing a Form 1120 every year with the IRS. And remember that the corporation is going to be taxed on two levels. So one, in that Form 1120 with the IRS, and then two, if the shareholders of that corporation are going to be receiving any sort of dividends during the year, they're going to fill that out on Schedule D of their individual 1040s. Any state you operate in is going to have some sort of business tax of entities operating out of that state. Some cities even have city taxes as well. So a good place to go to find out more information on your state's business taxes is the Small Business Administration, and you can get there by going to www.sba.gov. When you're filing your taxes, you're going to be able to take deductions for your business, and that's going to be any sort of expense that is both ordinary and necessary to operating that business. So since you're putting that information on your tax returns, you want to make sure that you keep backup paperwork on it. So keep any receipt of any ordinary and necessary expense of your company for 5 years. As an example, some ordinary and necessary business expenses include the fuel you're purchasing, your tires and equipment, even interest payments on your truck, and also the cost of drug and alcohol tests as well as medical exams. Now, if you want more information on the policies that your company should have on drug and alcohol testing, please watch our drug and alcohol testing program video.
You have just watched one video in our series, What to Expect as a New Entrant, a guide to running your trucking company during the first year. Please see other videos in this series or download our white paper to learn more about being a new entrant, insurance, alcohol and drug testing, taxes, IFTA, safety, the driver qualification file, hours of service, the safety audit, and additional filings.